My next guest on the show today has some strong family genes. Now, he's played 14 years in the NBA and has played with some of the most iconic players the NBA has ever seen. Currently, he's an NBA analyst and does a great job as well. Welcome to the HD Connection, Jon Barry. JB, how are things out there on the West Coast, man?
Not too bad. A lot warmer than back east where you are, that's for sure.
You're right about that. I need to get me some of that sunshine. Now, Jon, the first thing I want to talk to you about is that you grew up in California. You went to a very popular high school named De La Salle. And now some of the most well-known, iconic people that have attended that high school are Monty Toomer, Maurice Jones-Drew, DJ Williams, TJ Ward, Brent Barry, your brother, and yourself. What was high school like for you there?
Well, we were a football power. All those guys you mentioned were football players, except for me and my brother. And my other brother, Drew, actually made it in the NBA as well. So I think we were the only three NBA players out of De La Salle. But it was a private school in Concord, California. I lived about 25 to 30 minutes away from there. But it was a special place that we decided to go to. My mother put us in there, and it was an incredible place. Obviously, the sports were unbelievable, but most of my friends, now that I'm 51, are still from high school. I keep track with about a dozen or so of my friends from high school. It was a special place, and the sports was awesome. I mean, our football team, we won 151 in a row, which is a national record.
Wow.
And it was a lot of fun to be a part of. Bob Ladouceur was our coach for all those years, and a lot of special relationships at De La Salle.
And I love how you have kept your high school friends. Like that song that I think it's DJ Khaled, Drake. No new friends, Jon. We don't need new friends. We're gonna stick with people who bring that through thick and thin.
Yeah, no, hey, I like to meet new people too, but those are my guys. Those are, when you become a man, graduating high school, and those are special guys to me.
That's right. So now when it came to playing college basketball, ultimately you ended up at Georgia Tech playing for a top-notch coach named Bobby Cremins. Now, the year before, they actually went to the Final Four. I was at a lot of your games, man. You don't even know this, but me and Joanna was talking about this. I was at a lot of your games as a kid.
That's not cool, man. Are you sure you weren't with the Falcons then?
Davey, listen, I was at a lot of your games, man. But the question I have for you, what was it like playing for an iconic figure like Bobby Cremins?
It was awesome. Like you said, I grew up in California, so I didn't know a lot about the ACC. When you grow up out here, you hear North Carolina, you hear Duke, but you don't know about ACC. And back in the 90s, early 90s, when I was there, the ACC was the deal. And there's no doubt. I mean, the Big East was great in the late 80s and 80s. And then the ACC was really what it was all about. So I remember, freaking out. I played North Carolina, and I remember reading an article, and Dean Smith was talking about game planning against me. And I'm like, what? Dean Smith is talking about me. It blew my mind. And Bobby Cremins was the reason I went to Georgia Tech, quite simply. He's an incredible guy. He's as real as it gets. And when you go there, he's as loyal as a guy that you ever meet. He only likes to recruit 6, 7, or 8 guys because he doesn't want to bring you in and not play you because he feels he owes you. And he's a special guy. I still speak to Bobby a couple times a year. He's down in South Carolina now trying to get his golf game in order. He's going to be working hard at that. But Bobby was an awesome guy, and Georgia Tech was a great experience.
Dang, I might need to go up there with Coach Cremins then because I need to get my golf game in order.
Well, no, don't watch him. Yeah, he'll show you what not to do.
I'll take your word for it. Now, you're a college kid. You're in the city of Atlanta back when the ATL was booming. Now, that's back when the ATL was booming, JB.
Yeah.
There's a lot to offer back in those times. Did you enjoy the nightlife while you was here?
Well, yeah, that was fun about being a Georgia Tech athlete is that you felt like a pro athlete because on campus, we didn't have a whole lot to do. Not a lot of fraternities. It's a smaller school of people that were there. So, yeah, we'd play in a game and head down to Buckhead when Buckhead was Buckhead. Remember that? There was like 90, 100, oh man, 90, 100 clubs. I mean, we go we go hang out. So I remember we go to Fat Tuesdays all the time. They had these frozen drinks or something. So it was so fun that we would play a game and you go there, and obviously I was single. So trying to meet, some ladies or whatever, and the TV would come on and it'd be the highlights of the game. And you'd be like nudging the girl, like, yeah, check that out. Yeah, I had 23 tonight. And so we had a lot of fun in Buckhead hanging out. It was cool.
Now, while you were playing at Tech, now you were a stud. Now, trust me, I know. I watched you. You were a stud out there on that court. And to go along with y'all yourself, y'all had some ballers as well. Guys like Kenny Anderson. And for those of you who are watching, the younger generation, if you don't know who Kenny Anderson is, shame on you. You're not really into basketball like you should be. If you don't know who Jon Barry is, shame on you. You're really not into basketball like you should be. But Kenny Anderson, Travis Best, James Forrest, Malcolm Mackey, how did your relationship with your teammates? How was your relationship with your teammates?
It was great. I got Kenny for 1 year. Everybody thought he was going to leave after his freshman year, but he wound up staying. So his sophomore year was his last year. And so he and I were backcourt mates. Remember, he had a 50-point game against Loyola Marymount. He had some of the best handle you've ever seen. Kenny was a New York legend. He was an incredible player. So it was a great experience to get to play with him alongside him for 35 games. And then you mentioned those other guys, a lot of guys to the NBA. Travis Best had a long 12-year career, I think. James Forrest, it didn't work out for him, but he was a terrific college player. We had a ball, and it was all about going to the NCAA tournament. That's the only thing I ever wanted, as I was growing up. That was the most important thing. I wasn't thinking about professional basketball. I was thinking about, I want to get in the NCAA tournament. I saw my older brother play in the Final Four, win the Final Four in 1988 as a member of the Kansas Jayhawks. And that's all I set my sights on. And we had two pretty good runs in the NCAA those 2 years I was there. And it was a lot of fun.
Now, at this point, your college career comes to an end. You start preparing for the 1992 NBA draft, where you were selected in the first round by the Boston Celtics, but you didn't sign your contract and decided to sit out that entire season. Take me through your thought process and why you made that decision.
Well, so I was picked 21, the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 24th picks, all signed for 4-year guaranteed contracts. And the Celtics had only offered me 2. And I just said, look, at least give me 3 and I'm coming. And they wouldn't give me the 3rd year. And I got to be honest, at the time, I was excited to get drafted in the first round. And I didn't know what kind of career I would have if I had any longevity. I didn't know if I could stick. So I was just trying to get as many years as I could to protect myself. And they didn't give me the 3 years. So they wound up trading me to Milwaukee. And I never got a chance to be with the Boston Celtics. And I really wanted to go to Boston. I had a place to live in Cambridge with a good friend of mine. And I was ready to go, but it didn't work out. And so I had a circuitous route to stay in the NBA, but it started in Milwaukee instead of Boston.
And I got to give you a shout out, John, because sometimes when you're in those situations, right, you're a young man, you're a certain age, and you're eager to get out there in the NBA and do your thing. Sometimes people just jump at things that are thrown to them. But that deal wasn't to your caliber. That's not what you expected. That's not what you wanted. And you made a decision that was best for your life. And lo and behold, you played 14 years in the NBA. So when I look back on it, you made the right decision, my man. Sometimes you have to be selfish like that for yourself. I don't think we have enough people that are selfish enough when it comes to themselves and know their worth. But I want to give you a shout out and kudos to you for actually knowing that.
Well, thanks. I mean, I was just trying to protect myself. And if I had to go out there and prove myself in 2 years, I think I could have done that. But it was a decision I stand by, and fortunately it did work out.
Now, you ended up playing 14 years in the NBA, like I said. You played during the toughness era, right? The era you would literally get your ass knocked out if you can't trying to shoot a layup, trying to dunk the basketball. Very, very physical time back then. During the 1997 and 98 season, you're a part of the Los Angeles Lakers organization. You were teammates with the great Kobe Bryant. God rest his soul. Now, I want to know, what are some of the things that you've seen from Kobe up close as a teammate?
Well, so Kobe wasn't really Kobe yet. It was his second year. He didn't start. He played behind Eddie Jones. He came off the bench. So he hadn't arrived as Kobe Bryant like everybody knew. But all of us that watched him every day knew what was coming. I've never seen somebody work as hard as Kobe Bryant. We would play one-on-one after practice, and if I didn't say it's time to go, he would stay there until the next day. And that's the truth. He would not leave the floor. He was as focused and competitive as anybody I've ever seen. He wanted to be Michael Jordan. He wanted to be better than Michael Jordan. And that's all his sights were, to be better than Michael Jordan. I want to win more championships. I want to be better. I want to be known as the greatest of all time. That's all he wanted to do. Not only would he watch Michael Jordan highlights of his games to try to patent his moves, he watched his interviews, how Michael Jordan spoke. He would sit on planes and he was by himself. He rarely talked to any of his teammates. The year I was there, he was just quiet and focused and ready to go. And every day in practice was like Game 7 of the NBA Finals, and he played that hard. He was an incredibly focused, driven guy.
Let's talk about that zoom focus that you're talking about, right? I call it tunnel vision, right? Blocking out everything on the side of you, looking straight forward, eliminating the distractions. How important, you're an NBA analyst now, how important is it for these guys to have that tunnel vision, to have that focus, and to not let things on the outside distract them from the common goal? Because, like you said, Kobe wanted to be great. And for them to be great, that's the focus. That's the attention to detail you got to have.
I think it's a lot harder now because all athletes talk about is their brand, right? It seems like a lot of athletes are just worried about their brand and their Instagram followers and what they put on Twitter every day. There's so much more involved now for athletes. That's why, like, LeBron James, to me, it's mind-boggling what he's been able to do. I mean, think about a guy's the chosen one. Really, the first guy that I can ever remember as a high school kid being on TV saying, "This is the guy," right? That's the first guy I remember. Maybe there was somebody else, I don't know. But he's been squeaky clean. He's never done anything wrong, and he wins. And every single guy that plays with him said he's the best teammate you can possibly have. I mean, this guy, and he's as good now as he was 15 years ago, maybe even better, right? I mean, it's just remarkable what he's been able to do. And you talk about brand and all the different ventures that he's in. It's a lot harder now, but he has the focus. I mean, and there's very few guys that I think have that are able to do both of those things.
Now, you spoke about Michael Jordan when you were talking about Kobe. He really took things personally, like he said in his documentary, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. Michael would make stuff up. One of the great stories that Chris Webber told me, Chris Webber was with the Washington Bullets at the time. It was that long ago. So they're playing in the playoffs, and I think it was maybe before Game 3. There's 5-game series. Might have been the third game. And apparently he poked his head into the locker room of the Wizards before the game. And LeBradford Smith was a good player, played at Louisville, played some years in the NBA, real talented kid. Anyway, Michael screams into the Washington locker room, "Hey, LeBradford, you're getting 40 in the first half tonight." And everybody kind of looked around like, is that really Michael? And for whatever the reason, he thought LeBradford Smith was John in the papers or something about something. So he says he's getting 40 in the first half. Jordan gets 39, and he is absolutely livid at himself because he got 39 in the first half. And he just made it up. LeBradford Smith never said anything. And he even told him that after the game. He just said, "Hey, man, I'm just trying to get myself motivated."
That's crazy, man.
Crazy, man. Gets 39. Nuts.
Did you ever get a chance to play against Jordan where you had to guard him?
Oh, absolutely.
How was it?
So all through
the game.
I enjoyed getting a chance to do that because you got nothing to lose if you think about it, right? He torches everybody. So if he torches me, big deal. And if I stop him a few times, hey, that's a feather in my cap. So I remember telling every time our team photographer, when we played him, I'm like, anytime I'm in the area code with him, get me some pictures. And I got about a dozen of them framed in my house. Me and Michael Jordan, who to me, the greatest of all time. Now I'm an old guy, I get it, but that is the greatest of all time.
I respect it. I feel the same way you feel. Now, when you look at today's NBA and look at the players, who are 3 players that could have played in your era with no hesitation?
Yeah, like you said, I think the game's different. I mean, and you always see old guys say, oh, back in the day, these guys couldn't do this or that. It's a completely different game. The physicality, this is more specialized. If you can do one thing, you get paid and you play in the NBA. Back then, you had to have a little more to your game, in my opinion, in the 90s. But you had to be physical. Like, I really wish we could see it. I'd love to see Steph Curry play in the 90s. Now, Steph Curry has changed the game. I mean, the way he does things. But if he played with hand checking and the physicality, would he be able to do all those things? I don't know. So obviously, if you say who's going to be a great player, LeBron James is going to be a great player whenever he played. And look, most of these guys would be. I know the physicality is something that, you would just adjust to and they would get accustomed to doing it. It's like LeBron James and Tony Gonzalez. You were in Atlanta with Tony, I believe. So Tony lived in my building in Atlanta when he was here. And I said LeBron James could be the best tight end of all time. And he disagreed because he said he wouldn't know how, he couldn't be physical enough. I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know where you would stand on that. I'd like your opinion, but you going to tell me that that LeBron James couldn't be a tight end in the NFL?
See, I think he would be one of the greatest ones as well, because number one, we talked about that focus. He has that focus. He has the mental capacity, the way the money he spends to take care of his body every year. And then we haven't seen an athlete ever with his size, his speed, his strength, and all those just physical attributes. And on top of it, do the things that he's done for such a long period of time. Right? It's about consistency. He's one of the most consistent players, I'll say, in sports overall.
Yeah, this is his 17th year or 18th year. I mean, it's incredible. And like Tony Gonzalez is one of the top tight ends ever, top 3, whatever. You can make your argument.
Tony G's the best to ever play the game.
Okay, he's the best. Now, did you see Tony Gonzalez play basketball?
No, I didn't. But I heard.
Okay, yeah. So he played college basketball. Unbelievable, right? That's incredible. But you compare his athleticism to LeBron James?
Yeah.
We're in a no. And Tony is the best. And I like you said, I agree. But LeBron James, I'd love to see him with pads on. That would have been fun to watch.
All right, now I'm gonna flip it the other way around. Who are 3 players from your era that could have played in today's game easily?
Oh, well, I mean, Allen Iverson. I mean, Michael Jordan, obviously. Like, can you imagine not being able to put hands on these guys? I mean, Michael Jordan, I think would be getting in the mid 40s. I think he could average in the mid 40s
every game easily.
You can't touch him, And Allen Iverson, Allen Iverson. You talk about the toughest dude that ever played in the NBA, pound for pound. There's no doubt that it is Allen Iverson. You mentioned going in the lane and getting beat down by, the Knicks and the Pacers and all the Pistons, all these just brutes. That guy get knocked down 15 times a game and showed up every single night and gave it all.
Yeah, that's love. I used to love AI, man. Especially
when
he hit Jordan with that. Come here, MJ. That was a pivotal moment in his career. Now, JB, man, you've been a broadcaster for a while now, calling NBA games on ESPN and ABC. How did you get into it, and was that your first option after retiring from the NBA?
Yeah, I actually wanted to do that since the 8th grade. I was in a speech class in the 8th grade, and I wound up doing, for my final project, I did like a newscast where I was a sportscaster, and I got like the best grade I ever got on anything I ever did in school. I didn't do a whole lot of good stuff, but I remember my speech teacher said, really, you have a knack for that. And so that's something that really in the 8th grade that I felt like it was something I wanted to do. So when I was in the NBA, my last 4 or 5 seasons, every time we were on national television, I would go speak to the announcers, and the producers and the directors would come out on the floor before games as well. So I just kind of introduced myself, and it was all just, planting the seed that this was something that I wanted to do. And then, at the end of my last couple of years, I got hurt in Houston. So I did 5 broadcasts. They let me go on and do some broadcasts for our team that year. So, anybody that's thinking about doing that, if you get stuff on tape, that's actual footage that you're doing, that's the key. Get on tape, do it. And I was lucky enough, ESPN hired me right away. And I guess I've been doing that for 13, 14 years now. My gosh, time flies.
Now, calling games during COVID-19, how different is that, and how difficult was it at first?
Yeah, it's not very fun. We work from home. We haven't been able to get to the game, and that's the whole part of doing it for me, for the enjoyment factor, is seeing guys that I've played against and known for 30 years since I've been around the NBA. You don't see them. You sit in a room and you call a game. My partner's not with me. There's timing factors. Sometimes the Wi-Fi goes down. I did a game the other night, literally on my cell phone. My Zoom went down on my computer. My display went down, and I watched on my iPhone and did the game. Yeah, wow. So it's tough. And, like I said, it's about relationships and seeing, people that you played against and people you admire, you get to talk to, and just not having that face-to-face doesn't make it quite as fun.
Now, I want to touch on your family bloodline, right? Your father, Rick Barry, he was the 2nd overall pick in the 1965 NBA draft. He's an NBA champion, NBA scoring champion, all-star MVP, 5-time all-NBA first team, NBA Rookie of the Year, has his jersey retired with the Warriors, and he's inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. Your 4 brothers, all of y'all have played basketball professionally. How much of that is due to seeing your father play the game at such a high level, and you guys wanted some of that taste in y'all's mouth as well?
Well, obviously we gravitated towards that. When your dad's in the NBA and you get to be a ball boy and you get to hang around, that's kind of your life, and we're very fortunate to be able to do it. I mean, my brother Brent and I both played 14 years in the NBA. What are the chances your dad and then 2 of his kids do the same thing? It's obviously not on the level of my father, but it's no guarantee because your dad plays. Now I know your brother was a great athlete too. I remember playing against Tony. He played with the Knicks and the Heat, I believe, and maybe some other teams. But two of you to make it in the professional sports, I mean, think about the odds of that.
It's tough, man.
There's maybe 500 guys in the NBA in the world right now. And to say that at one time we had 3 of us in the NBA. I mean, the odds are astronomical. So we're appreciative. It's obviously a major bonus that your dad is a professional athlete and you get to go be around the game as much as we got to be around it. But at the same time, we all put a heck of a lot of work in, and that's what it takes. As you know, you have to have the drive, the focus, and the ability to say, this is what I want to do, and put your heart and soul into it. And all of my brothers and I have done that.
That's dope, man. Last thing I want to talk to you about. I have a few questions for you about you and your brothers. I want to see what's going on in this Barry family tree. Now, number 1, out of all of you and your brothers, who's the sneaky one?
Sneaky? Mm-hmm. Oh, man. I'd probably say my youngest. The youngest always, because that's the mama's boy. So he kind of gets away with everything, right? Mom's always got his back. So I'd say my brother Drew, who's the youngest boy, is the sneakiest.
Now, who's the ladies' man out of all of y'all?
Ooh, well, let's see. All four of us have gotten divorced. So, so I guess we're all losers. But I think if we were all back in our single days, there's no question that I am the ladies' man.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, JB. Now,
Don't tell Joe.
No, I'm not. Now, who's the most athletic?
That would be Brent. Obviously, Brent won the dunk contest. Brent's the tallest of all of us. He's about 6'7", and he's got a crazy wingspan. But Brent, there's no doubt that Brent, athletically on the basketball court, it's definitely Brent.
All right, two more. Who's the most intelligent out of you and all your brothers?
That's tough. Probably my oldest, Scooter, who won that championship in Kansas. I'll give it to Scooter. He had a lot on his plate. My dad left our family, when we were all from the ages of 12 to 6, and he kind of took over the dad role. So he grew up real quick as a 12-year-old, and I'd say my brother Scooter is probably that guy.
All right, last one. Who is the most outgoing and free-spirited?
I have to go with Brent on that one. Brent's a self-made guitar player, a self-made piano player, a surfer. He has a place down in Hermosa Beach, so he's into that. He's into a lot of different things. I'd say Brent is probably that guy.
So I want you to give Brent a call and tell him at some point I'm coming out there to surf. I learned how to surf last year out in San Diego. And I'll tell you this, JB, I have the utmost respect for surfers. When I mean my core in every part of my body was sore for like 3 days after I surfed. It was crazy.
You can have surfing. That's too much work for me, man. But he'll take you out. No question about it. He let me know when you want to come see him.
Appreciate that, man. JB, I want to thank you for coming on the HD Connection. It means a lot. For everyone watching, make sure y'all go subscribe on YouTube to the HD Connection. And thank you again, my man.
You got it, Harry. We'll see you at Howell sometime soon.
That's right. Appreciate it, bud.